My sister dreamed of being a fairy tale heroine guarded by loyal knights. The day I was born, she wished for a baby brother to protect her. My parents didn't have the heart to crush her fantasy, so they changed my birth certificate listing me as male. Kept my hair short, followed her like a shadow, carried her backpack and fought her battles. Yet I could never shake the suffocating injustice. At 17, I secretly created a second social media account. My profile was a girl's picture, my bio feminine. My feed filled with delicate princess dresses. A boy added me and we talked for 6 months. One afternoon, he sent a voice note chuckling softly, "I found you." Later that day, the most popular guy in school confessed his love to my sister. As I was about to explain, glowing text began scrolling across my vision like live stream comments. What is this side character thinking? Does he believe confessing now will change anything? How could the future wealthiest tycoon of Bayview ever fall for a guy? It's laughable. If he discovers he's been chatting with a boy, he'll be furious about the deception. But I wasn't a boy. I was talking and all I wanted was to wear a dress. Just once. My fingers hovered over the screen. In the end, I never sent that message. Closing my phone, I listened to my classmates gossiping excitedly around me. Oh my God, was that Miguel? He is so insanely handsome. I walked past him earlier and caught a glimpse. He looks so cool and detached. I can't believe he confessed to Serena. At Bayview High, rumors about Miguel always traveled the fastest. Did you guys know Miguel has been into Serena for a long time? My cousin is his roommate. He said Miguel is always staring at his phone, smiling so softly. The girl he likes has a really sweet voice, loves to daydream and her social media is full of kittens. And all kinds of princess dresses. I looked out the window below the academic building. Serena was wearing a designer meow meow dress. Her long, wavy hair fell beautifully over her shoulders. She threw herself into Miguel's arms. Even the way she blushed was breathtakingly beautiful. I thought to myself, they were right. Serena truly looks like a princess. My deskmate, Wyatt, leaned over the windowsill watching my sister before turning back to look at me with a serious face. Deacon, you and your sister don't look alike at all. What do you mean? Wyatt thought for a moment before offering an analogy. Your sister is like a graceful swan. You look like her servant, short, scrawny. And your hair is full of split ends. Anger flared in my chest. I buried my face in my arms on the desk, ignoring him. Wyatt nudged my shoulder, his voice turning teasing. Don't be mad. I'll buy you a drink. Just as I was about to look up, this one's for you. And can you help me deliver the other one to your sister? My drink was a cheap dollar store iced tea. The one for my sister was a fancy, expensive specialty berry latte. I buried my head deeper into the desk. I'm not going. My sister doesn't like you anyway. She won't accept it. Ego bruised, he slammed his hand on the desk, his face blushing with embarrassment. We're guys. We don't need to drink fancy things. Why are you acting so high and mighty, Duncan? I think you're just jealous of your sister. With that, he stomped off. The entire classroom turned to look at me. I buried my face in my math worksheet, pretending I didn't care. But my fingers gripped the hem of my shirt so tightly that my palms ached. I didn't say another word to Wyatt that day. Once school ended and everyone had left, I sat in the empty classroom and cried. I suddenly remembered a time long ago when I had secretly tried on one of my sister's hair clips. My mother had screamed at me, calling me a thief. Heartbroken, I had posted a picture of the clip online. A kind stranger added me. Is this the one? Don't worry about the money. I'll send it to you later, he messaged me. So you like pink princess dresses, huh? Quite the girly heart. Then he added, but it suits you. I knew that every time I posted on my feed, he was always the first to leave a like. Miguel had mistaken my sister for me. I didn't blame him. After all, I was the one who, like a thief in the night, had secretly envied and peeked into my sister's perfect life. After that day, I logged out of the secret account and never opened it again. During breakfast, my mother gave me her usual reminder. Your sister is having bad cramps today. As her brother, you need to take good care of her. I chewed slowly on my toast. I will. Serena was 2 years older than me, a senior. Our classrooms were far apart. I carefully filled a thermos with warm chamomile tea and stirred in some honey. The moment the bell rang, I ran over to her building. By the time I arrived, sweating and out of breath, my sister had just gone to the restroom. I set the warm tea on her desk. After a moment's thought, I slipped a few chocolates next to it. Suddenly, a boy with dyed red hair blocked my path. He looked me up and down with a sneer. "What class are you in? Don't you know Serena has a boyfriend?" Before I could even open my mouth to explain, he snatched the thermos and threw it to the ground. "I've been watching you for a while now. Every single day you carry Serena's bag, run errands, and buy her drinks. Trying so hard to kiss up to her. Do you really think you're on her level?" He pinned me against the wall, his tone dangerously casual. He was too close. Terrified that he was about to punch me, I squeezed my eyes shut. "That's enough, Asher." A detached voice sounded from nearby. Miguel took off his headphones. Glancing at me, he said calmly, "Take your chocolates back, kid. She doesn't need them. And from now on, stay away from Serena." Glowing comments flashed across my mind. LMAO, the side character is such a clown. Male lead didn't even recognize him. He thinks Dakin is a rival and is getting jealous. Dakin needs to know his place. Stop making a fool of yourself. Even if the male lead found out the truth, he would only feel disgusted, not fall for you. Just then, Serena hurried back. "Oh my gosh. What are you guys doing? Are you about to fight?" She naturally wrapped her arm around Miguel's. Then she pointed at me. "This is my brother, my real brother." Miguel froze. "Your brother makes you tea and walks you to school every day?" Serena blinked innocently. "Yeah, he's like my personal knight. A younger brother is supposed to protect his sister for the rest of his life, right?" A long silence followed. Realizing he had made a mistake, Miguel extended his hand to me and said sincerely, "I'm sorry." I forced a tight smile, but my lips felt completely numb. Back when we chatted online, he used to tease me, making my face blush. "What are you so afraid of? Am I going to eat you when we finally meet?" But I never expected our actual meeting to be like this. And all he had to say to me was a cold, polite apology. Perhaps out of guilt for the misunderstanding, Miguel had someone deliver some things to me a few days later. It was a stack of thick, neatly organized study guides and hard-to-find practice exams. Asher dropped the materials onto my desk with a lazy shrug. "He's always top of the class. His notes should help you with the upcoming midterms." Seeing my hesitation, Asher slung an arm around my shoulder. "Come on, don't hold a grudge. We were out of line the other day. Just don't go bad-mouthing us to your sister." I thought to myself, so he likes my sister, too. Nodded and accepted the books. As I flipped through the practice exams, a beautifully packaged box of imported chocolates fell out. I blinked in surprise. Asher was already walking away. He waved a hand over his shoulder. "Those are for me. Eat up. You need to grow taller during the midterm exams." Every question that was similar to the ones in that practice book was a breeze. I didn't lose a single point. Gradually, the tension between us began to thaw. Whenever I ran into Miguel at school, we would exchange a polite nod, sometimes while memorizing vocabulary in the hallway. I would look down and see Miguel squatting near the academic building, feeding a small colony of stray ginger cats. The summer breeze blew softly, rustling his hair. He would smile, his lips curving into a gentle line, as if thinking of someone special. But in the next second, a bright, cheerful figure would throw her arms around him. "So this is where you were hiding?" Serena glanced down at the cats, wrinkling her nose. "Why do you like these basic ginger cats?" "Just like my brother does. I thought you'd prefer something cooler, like a Maine Coon." Miguel went rigid. "Your brother likes these cats?" Miguel stood up, brushing off his jeans. "Nothing. Let's go. I want to see you practice ballet." As they walked away, a little ginger cat rubbed against my ankle, meowing softly. I broke off a piece of a turkey jerky strip and fed it to the kitten. After that day, I rarely went to that hallway to study. Miguel's devotion to Serena was legendary throughout the school. On her birthday, he gifted her a diamond necklace worth 7 figures. The class decided to celebrate at an upscale karaoke lounge. And during a game of truth or dare, Serena lost several rounds in a row. Miguel drank every single penalty shot for her. I went to the restroom. And when I came out, I saw him leaning heavily against the sink. He looked incredibly pale, as if he had just thrown up. After a brief hesitation, I stepped forward to support him. If you're not feeling well, you should tell my sister. The moment our fingers brushed, Miguel stiffened, his handsome brow furrowed. He subtly but firmly pulled his arm back, escaping my touch. Why is it you? The floating comments sneered. The side character is so pathetic, trying to orchestrate a run-in to get close to the male lead. He tried the same thing with the ginger cats last time. What's the point of all this? Effort? Even if the male lead suspects something, he'll just pretend he doesn't know. I withdrew my hand, just passing by. Even after I had walked far down the corridor, I could still feel his dark, heavy gaze lingering on my back. I left the party early that night, around 9. A light drizzle began to fall. And my father looked out the window with a worried frown. Duncan, go pick up your sister and bring her home. I kept my eyes glued to my textbook. Someone is already bringing her home. My mother frowned, her voice sharp with disapproval. I don't trust other boys walking her home in the dark. Duncan, since when did you become so selfish? In the rising tension, my father put his laptop aside and quickly tried to soothe her. I silently put on my raincoat, grabbed an extra umbrella and walked out into the damp night. Perhaps Serena had stayed out too late. By a stroke of terrible luck, we were cornered by a group of local street thugs in a narrow, dark alley. Duncan, what do we do? I'm scared, Serena whimpered, her voice tiny and trembling. I didn't tell her that I was terrified, too, but I dropped my backpack anyway. Serena, when things get messy, run toward the main road. Don't look back. It was supposed to be this way, wasn't it? When I was a child and a plate was broken, I was the one who took the blame. Every teddy bear my parents bought was handed to her. When there was a massive spider in her wardrobe, she would scream and call my name, and I would swallow my own terror to kill it for her. From the moment I could understand words, the phrase my parents repeated most was, "You must promise to protect your sister. You're the man of the house. Serena has a congenital heart condition. She's so fragile. You are healthy and strong, so you have to look out for her your entire life. Our Duncan is so smart. Surely you can understand and help your parents." I had heard those words so many times that they had become second nature. Oh, when the wooden planks and metal pipes swung toward us, I didn't hesitate. I shielded her with my body. When they grabbed my hair, I kicked them in the stomach. The noise eventually grew loud enough to draw the attention of nearby neighbors who called the police, forcing the thugs to scatter. Wiping the blood dripping from my forehead, I reached out to pull my sister up. Some kind bystanders helped us to the hospital, and Miguel arrived shortly after receiving the news. And his eyes immediately locked onto the scrape on Serena's knee. He turned to me, his voice tight with anger. Duncan, why couldn't you have been more careful? She's hurt. Is this how you protect your sister? Calm down, Asher stepped in, patting his shoulder. Her skin is hurt, too. Look at his forehead. It's still bleeding. You can't blame him for this. Only then did Miguel notice the white bandage wrapped around my forehead. His voice caught in his throat. He fell silent, turned on his heel and walked out. To settle the hospital bill. From a distance, Miguel's cold, dismissive words drifted back to my ears. He's a guy. Isn't this exactly what he's supposed to do? What does he have to feel bad about? Leaving Serena in his hands, staring at the tips of my shoes, I kicked a small pebble. I didn't say a single word. When Miguel dropped my sister off at our apartment building, he called out to me, "The police found your phone." The screen wasn't locked. I mumbled a quick thank you and took it from him. Just as I turned to head upstairs, the phone in my hand began to vibrate. I froze, looking down at the screen. Standing under the dim street lamp, Miguel slowly lowered his own phone from his ear. It really was you. We stared at each other through the hazy drizzle. There was no sudden joy of discovery, no regret for the misunderstanding. His face was as flat and cold as still water, as he slid a card toward me. Duncan, let's just pretend this never happened, okay? I don't want anyone else to know. Honestly, it's pretty disgusting. The freezing rain beat down on my face. It was so humiliating, so painful that it made me want to weep. With all the strength left in my body, I snapped the card in half, threw the pieces at his chest, and ran upstairs. The moment I crossed the threshold of my home, the tears finally spilled over, completely uncontrollable. I wanted to scream. I wanted to demand answers. Why was life so incredibly unfair to me, seeing me? My father quickly put a finger to his lips. Shoo, your sister just fell asleep. The heavy silence in the room was suffocating, pushing me to the brink of madness. Dad, Mom, I don't want to be the brother anymore, I sobbed, my voice cracking. I want to be a girl again. I want to grow my hair long. I want to take ballet lessons. Why are you doing this to me? It's not my fault. Serena is sick. Why do I have to carry this burden? It was the very first time I had ever talked back. Flushed with anger. My mother raised her hand and slapped me hard across the face. What is wrong with you? Who upset you that you're taking it out on us? My cheek burned with a stinging heat. I couldn't stand to be in that house for another second. I bolted out the door and ran into the night. Behind me, I heard my sister stirring, her voice sleepy and mocking. Why is Dakin crying? What a baby crying over nothing, my father asked. Who set him off? My mother replied coldly. Who knows? Outside, the storm grew heavier. I huddled under the awning of a bus stop, shivering with absolutely nowhere to go. Clasping my knees to my chest, I let out a broken sob, weeping into the dark. Bus after bus passed by. Then an umbrella tilted over my head, blocking out the rain. Doc and Asher called my name a few times. When I didn't respond, he squatted down and pressed his palm against my forehead. You're running a fever. Get up. He reached out to help me stand, but my knees buckled and I collapsed forward, crashing directly into his chest. Asher groaned as we hit the pavement, but his body went completely rigid. His eyes widened in absolute shock as he looked down at me. You're a girl. Asher's voice was barely louder than the rain. You're a girl. My entire body went cold. I pushed against his chest in panic and stumbled backward. No. The lie came out automatically. I'm just. His expression shifted from shock to confusion. You. His eyes darted to my soaked clothes, then to my trembling hands. The bandages, your chest. His ears turned bright red as realization slowly dawned. I didn't mean. He immediately looked away. I'm sorry. The floating comments exploded across my vision. Holy, the second male lead found out first? This isn't supposed to happen. Asher wasn't meant to know until chapter 67. Wait, why is he apologizing instead of laughing? Something's changing. I stared blankly at the glowing text. Changing? Asher slowly removed his hoodie and wrapped it around my shoulders without looking at me. You'll freeze. I whispered hoarsely. Don't tell anyone. He was quiet for a long time. Finally he asked. Is that why Miguel looked so weird tonight? My breathing caught. He knew. At least, he suspected. I won't tell him, Asher said. I won't tell anyone. His voice wasn't mocking anymore. It sounded careful. Like he was afraid one wrong word would make me shatter. Then he looked at my swollen cheek. Who hit you? I instinctively covered it. I fell. He stared at me. You're a terrible liar. Instead of taking me home, Asher brought me to his grandmother's small apartment. The elderly woman opened the door and gasped. Good heavens! Why is this child soaked? Without asking questions, she hurried me inside. Within minutes I was wrapped in a blanket with a steaming bowl of soup in front of me. No one told me to protect anyone. No one told me to stop crying. His grandmother simply smiled gently. Eat first. If you want to cry afterward, that's fine too. The first spoonful hadn't even reached my mouth before tears splashed into the soup. I cried harder than I ever had. The next morning my fever climbed past 103 degrees Fahrenheit. I drifted in and out of sleep. Sometimes I heard Asher arguing on the phone. No. He's not coming home. No, Auntie, I'm not asking. I'm telling you. My mother's furious voice echoed through the speaker. He's my son. Asher laughed bitterly. Funny. Yesterday you were calling him your daughter by mistake. Silence. Then. I've seen the bruise on his face. You don't get to hit him and then pretend you're worried. He hung up. When he turned around, he noticed I was awake. Sorry. I didn't mean to wake you. I stared at him. Why are you helping me? He scratched the back of his neck awkwardly. Because. I was awful to you. I thought you were some creepy guy chasing Serena. I never once asked what you wanted. He smiled sheepishly. And honestly. You're kind of pathetic. I glared at him. Thanks. But you're also ridiculously kind. You make tea every morning. You feed stray cats. You risked your life for your sister. You cried because someone threw away chocolates. His expression softened. No one cries over things like that unless they've been hurting for a really long time. For the first time, someone saw me. Not Serena's little brother. Not the family's future protector. Just me. 3 days later I returned to school. Rumors had already spread. Duncan ran away from home. Apparently his parents begged him to come back. He refused. As I walked through the hallway, countless comments floated before my eyes. Female lead route collapsing. Serena's popularity is dropping. Miguel hasn't smiled in days. Wait, why is the protagonist avoiding Serena now? I looked toward the student council office. Miguel stood alone by the window. He looked exhausted. Dark circles shadowed his eyes. The moment he noticed me, he immediately walked over. Duncan. I need to talk to you. Asher stepped between us. He doesn't. Miguel frowned. This doesn't concern you. It does now. The two boys stared each other down. Comments flooded even faster. Oh no. Original male lead versus second male lead. The plot is officially broken. Miguel ignored Asher. Instead he looked directly at me. His voice was quieter than I'd ever heard it. I read our old messages. I read all of them again. I realized. He swallowed. The person I liked was never Serena. The hallway fell completely silent. Every student nearby stopped walking. Even the floating comments froze. For the first time, not a single glowing word appeared. As though even fate itself didn't know what would happen next. The silence stretched so long that the ticking clock at the end of the hallway became deafening. Miguel's eyes never left mine. I'm sorry. I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it hurt. You've apologized a lot lately. His lips parted, but no words came. I took a slow breath. When you thought I was a boy chasing my sister, you humiliated me. When you found out I was the person you'd been talking to for 6 months. My voice trembled. You called me disgusting. The word echoed through the hallway. Students began whispering. What did he say? Disgusting? Miguel said that? His shoulders stiffened. I know. I was wrong. You don't understand. No. I shook my head. You don't understand. You think saying sorry fixes everything. I spent 17 years pretending to be someone else. I finally met the only person who ever made me feel like maybe, being myself wasn't something to be ashamed of. My eyes burned. And that person looked me in the face and told me I disgusted him. Miguel's face went pale. I wasn't disgusted by you. I was scared. The glowing comments returned. Wait, that's different from the original novel. He wasn't disgusted? Then why did he say it? Explain yourself, idiot. Miguel closed his eyes. My family owns one of the biggest companies in Bayview. My grandfather arranged my future years ago. If anyone found out I'd been emotionally attached to someone everyone believed was a boy. He let out a bitter laugh. I panicked. So you threw me away first. He couldn't deny it. Yes. I did. And I'll regret that for the rest of my life. I stared at him quietly. Maybe he meant every word. Maybe he truly regretted it. But regret couldn't erase that rainy night. It couldn't erase the way I'd believed, just for a second, that someone had finally chosen me. I forgive you. Hope flickered across his face. But I don't want anything else from you. His expression crumbled. Asher. Asher looked at me. Let's go. Without another glance back, we walked away together. The comments exploded. He rejected the male lead? This was never supposed to happen. Original route destroyed. Authors crying somewhere. That afternoon, I was called into the principal's office. To my surprise, my parents were already there. My mother looked exhausted. My father wouldn't meet my eyes. Serena sat beside them, arms folded. The principal adjusted his glasses. Duncan. Your parents have informed the school that you'd like to transfer. I blinked. I never said that. Everyone turned toward my parents. My father sighed. We thought. A fresh start would be easier. For who? The room fell silent. I looked directly at them. For me? Or because you're embarrassed? Mother's eyes reddened. We're trying our best. No. My voice stayed calm. You've always tried your best, for Serena. For the first time, Serena frowned. What is that supposed to mean? I looked at her. Do you know what my favorite color is? She rolled her eyes. Blue? No. What food do I hate? Vegetables? I shook my head. When's my birthday? She opened her mouth. Then stopped. The room became painfully quiet. She couldn't answer. Not even one. I smiled sadly. You always called me your knight. But you never even knew who was under the armor. Serena's confident expression slowly cracked. I didn't. She looked helplessly toward our parents. They couldn't answer either. None of them knew. Not because they had forgotten. Because they had never asked. The floating comments slowed. That's heartbreaking. She really doesn't know anything about him. He's been invisible in his own family. Tears welled in Serena's eyes. Duncan. I thought you liked taking care of me. I thought you were happy. I looked at my sister, the girl I'd protected my entire life. For the first time, I realized she had been raised inside the same fantasy as I had. She truly believed a little brother existed to protect his older sister forever. Someone had taught her that. Just like someone had taught me to disappear. I don't hate you, Serena. But I can't keep living your story. I need to live my own. Heaving a shaky breath, I reached into my backpack. Inside was a small envelope. I placed it gently on the principal's desk. My legal documents. Everyone stared. I've already spoken with a lawyer through a student legal aid program. My voice was steady. I'm filing to correct my birth certificate. My name. My sex marker. And everything else that was changed without my consent. My parents' faces drained of color. My mother whispered. You already? I nodded. I'm not asking for permission. I'm informing you. The comments flashed brighter than ever. The real story finally begins. The principal was the first to recover. He adjusted his glasses, looking from me to my parents. Is this true? My father lowered his head. Yes. It was our decision. We thought we were protecting both children. The principal's expression hardened. Protecting? He looked at me. Or deciding who one child had to become for the sake of the other? No one answered. Outside the office, the autumn wind scattered yellow leaves across the courtyard. I had expected to feel relieved. Instead, I felt empty. 17 years. You couldn't reclaim them with a few signatures. The glowing comments drifted lazily across my vision. She's finally choosing herself. I'm crying. This isn't even the same story anymore. The side character became the protagonist. A week later, a letter arrived. It wasn't from my parents. It wasn't from Miguel. It was from Serena. I stared at the neat handwriting for a long time before opening it. Duncan. I wanted to come say this in person, but every time I saw you, I realized I didn't know how to speak to you anymore. I always thought having a little brother who followed me everywhere meant I was lucky. I never asked if you wanted that life. Mom and Dad always said, Duncan will take care of you. So I believed it. I never noticed you were disappearing. I don't know if you'll ever forgive me. But, if someday you decide to grow your hair long, I'd like to learn how to braid it. Not because I want my night back. Because I want to know my sibling. Serena. A single tear landed on the page. Not because everything was fixed. Because, for the first time, she had written to me, not to the role I'd been forced to play. Life didn't magically become easier. My parents struggled to accept my decision. Some relatives whispered that I was confused. Others claimed I was being dramatic. But every morning, I looked in the mirror and saw my hair growing just a little longer. Every millimeter felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. One afternoon, Asher showed up carrying 3 shopping bags. What are those? He grinned. My grandma said if someone's starting over, they deserve new clothes. My eyes widened. Asher. He scratched his cheek awkwardly. Don't get emotional. I picked terrible outfits. His grandmother peeked around the corner. I picked the pretty ones. I laughed. A real laugh. One that reached my eyes. Inside the bags were simple sweaters, soft cardigans, sneakers. And at the very bottom, a pale pink dress. I froze. I can't. His grandmother smiled kindly. Then don't wear it today. You'll know when you're ready. Months passed. The legal process finally ended. Holding the updated birth certificate in my hands, I couldn't stop staring at it. The information finally reflected who I was. It was only a document. But to me, it felt like proof that I existed. The floating comments shimmered. Mission updated. Identity route complete. New route unlocked. Before I could wonder what that meant, the comments abruptly vanished. One by one. Until the air was completely clear. They're gone. I looked around. No glowing text. No spoilers. No invisible audience deciding what my life should be. For the first time, the future belonged only to me. As I stepped out of the government building into the sunlight, I heard someone call my name. I turned. Miguel stood across the street. He didn't approach immediately. He simply smiled, a small, bittersweet smile. I heard, everything was finalized. It was. He nodded. I'm glad. There was no confession. No dramatic plea to start over. Just quiet sincerity. I hope you're happy. I smiled back, equally softly. I'm learning how to be. He accepted the answer with a nod and walked away. Watching him disappear into the crowd, I realized something. The person I'd fallen for had been the one who accepted my dreams through a screen. The person standing before me now was someone still learning from his mistakes. Maybe one day we'd become friends. Maybe we wouldn't. Either way, I no longer needed his approval to know who I was. Ahead, Asher waved both arms dramatically. Hurry up. Grandma says we're celebrating. I laughed and jogged toward him. For the first time in my life, I wasn't following behind someone else. I was walking toward my own future. 5 years later. The city lights of Bayview glittered beneath the windows of a small dance studio. Music drifted through the room as a young woman corrected the posture of a nervous little girl. Relax your shoulders, she said gently. You're doing wonderfully. The child beamed. Teacher Duncan, can I really become a princess someday? She smiled. You don't have to become a princess. You can become whatever makes you happiest. The little girl nodded with determination and spun across the floor. Watching from the doorway, Asher couldn't help smiling. You always say that. She laughed. Because someone should have said it to me. Life hadn't turned into a fairy tale. It had become something better. Her parents had spent years rebuilding the relationship they had nearly destroyed. Her mother eventually admitted through tears that she had confused love with sacrifice. Her father apologized for staying silent whenever he should have spoken up. Neither expected immediate forgiveness. Instead, they showed up consistently, birthdays, performances, ordinary dinners, and slowly earned back the trust they had broken. Serena had changed too. Her heart condition was carefully managed, and she had learned to live more independently instead of relying on someone else to solve every problem. On Duncan's first ballet recital, Serena sat in the front row with tears streaming down her face. After the performance she hugged her tightly. "You look beautiful." "Not. You look like my little brother." "Just. You." It was the compliment Duncan had waited almost her entire life to hear. The sisters eventually became genuinely close, not because one protected the other, but because they finally learned to support each other as equals. Miguel kept his promise. He never tried to force his way back into Duncan's life. Years later, they occasionally crossed paths at charity events or alumni gatherings. They greeted each other warmly. The painful memories remained, but so did the lessons they had both learned. Sometimes closure wasn't getting the ending you once dreamed of. Sometimes it was accepting that people could grow, even if they grew apart. Asher never left. He was there when Duncan nervously bought her first dress with her own money. He waited outside the salon during her first long haircut, pretending he wasn't anxious. He clapped the loudest at every ballet performance. When she doubted herself, he reminded her of how far she'd already come. One evening, after locking up the dance studio, he held out a tiny velvet box. "Duncan." She looked at him. "I spent years trying to be brave enough to say this." He smiled sheepishly. "I don't love you because you're the girl from those messages. I don't love you because I feel sorry for you. I love the person who feeds stray cats before feeding herself. The person who still carries chocolates in case someone has a bad day. The person who taught me strength isn't pretending not to cry." He opened the box. Inside was a delicate silver ring shaped like a tiny ballet slipper. "Will you marry me?" Tears welled in her eyes. This time, they weren't tears of heartbreak. She laughed through them and nodded. Yes. A year later, their wedding was held in a botanical garden filled with white roses and fairy lights. Asher nearly cried before Duncan even walked down the aisle. His grandmother laughed. "I knew he'd be the emotional one." Serena served as maid of honor, proudly fixing Duncan's veil one last time. Their father walked Duncan down the aisle, not because tradition demanded it, but because she had chosen to let him. Halfway there, he whispered, "Thank you, for giving me another chance." She squeezed his hand. "Don't waste it." When they reached the altar, Asher's eyes were already red. "You look." He laughed. "Exactly like yourself." That was all she had ever wanted. Years later, the dance studio grew into one of the city's most beloved schools. Children of every background came to learn there. Some dreamed of becoming professionals. Others simply wanted a safe place to dance without being told who they had to be. Above the entrance hung a simple wooden sign. "Dream freely." Whenever a frightened child whispered, "Is it okay if I like this?" Duncan would always kneel beside them and answer with the same gentle smile. "Of course. Your dreams belong